Hi, my name is Shauna Zweifel, and this is my Practicum Experience. Here's my table of contents and my introduction and my goal for my practicum. I have been teaching, this is my 10th year. All of my years of teaching have been at the middle school, except for one. I was at the high school. I love teaching middle schoolers, and I just really have a great time with this, and currently I teach 2 sections of 7th grade math and 2 sections of accelerated 7th grade math. My goal for the practicum was just to gain valuable experience so that I know what it might someday be like to be an administrator. My philosophy statement is like this: my goal as an educational leader is to provide a safe and effective learning environment where all staff and students feel valued and respected. I want to constantly assess our school and the processes we use in order to always strive for the best to educate students. I am adamant about creating relationships between all stakeholders in the education process and communicating effectively among all of them. I had two main objectives that I considered when facing problems towards our school. One of them is that the middle school that I work at currently passes on students who fail a certain subject to the next grade level. And we have found out that just with the passing of this through high school, those kids are really struggling, and we just need to find a better way to handle this situation. The other objective that I wanted to implement or think about was the fact that we are supposed to be implementing MTSS in our district for students who are struggling with math and reading. And last year we had a great plan in place, but since budget cuts, we have lost a lot of staff and we're unable to offer that as a class this year. So part of brainstorming a way to make that happen. Here's my activities log. The first one that I helped with was right even before school started was the enrollment process. And I was there for a couple days during our enrollment just to help parents as they came in to figure out the online enrollment, and then also to answer questions regarding fees and schedule changes and those sorts. I also attended the Wilson Elementary Open House, which was also held before school started. And this is just a great place for parents and students to come and meet their teachers, and for students to bring their school supplies. I feel like it's so valuable for principals to be there, to be seen, and to be available to answer questions. I also was a member of the Safety Crisis Committee, and still am for this school year. Last year we added on to our building a FEMA approved storm shelter, and so our crisis plan needed to be updated to be reflective of that. And I feel like an administrator's job in this aspect is to just make sure that they are supporting that committee, and that when the committee needs to run drills to make sure everything is working out, that they are there to support that. I also supervised some games volleyball games at the middle school, and this is just important to have an administrator present in case any situation comes up where they need coaches, parents, teachers, students, staff, whoever may need something, or to answer questions. I also I worked with our curriculum director to put together a spreadsheet for participants for the math conference that was held at Fort Hays during our in-service day. I compiled this list from the elementary, middle, and high school administration, and put together the list of all the teachers that would be attending, the school they came from, and the level that they taught. I attended a literacy meeting that was held at O'Loughlin Elementary, which was really neat experience because I got to listen to first grade teachers, which I don't have any experience with. I got to hear them talk about the literacy test that they gave. And I don't know that I'd ever really thought about the fact that a lot of these teachers test those kids individually, and subs are needed for those days. And it was just interesting to hear their take on the new test that they were giving this year. One of the most interesting things I did on my practicum was attend a referral meeting for our alternative school, and I thought this was so important. And what really shocked me was how many people were there, from school counselors to mental health counselors to psychologists to a district court attorney to the parents to teachers to administration. And I just felt like this was a really valuable experience to see how this process works to refer a student to an alternative school. We have what's called a DLT, which is our district leadership team, and I attended this meeting, even though I'm not a part of it, just to hear kind of and find out what they do and to see the administration side of it. And at this particular meeting, we had just finished giving the STAR screening test, and so our curriculum director at this one presented different reports, which I thought was very valuable as an administrator to know what reports to look at, because we know data is such a huge part. As well as supervising the volleyball games, I also got to supervise some football games, and I have definitely learned that middle schoolers do not go to football games to watch football. They go to socialize, which sometimes provides a task for the administration to kind of contain them and keep them in one spot. So that was kind of an interesting role, but also an important one. I attended an IEP meeting, and this one was a little bit different than most of them that I've gone to as a teacher before. In this one, there were twin girls. One of them received services for special education. One does not, but they both receive services for ELL. And so their mom also does not speak English, and so we had an interpreter there. It was just very interesting to hear the discussion between the interpreter, the mom, the teachers, and just important for administration to be there to know the rules and regulations regarding special education. For our parent-teacher conferences this year, I created the signage and the maps for parents so that they could easily find teachers when they needed to go visit with them. We've had a lot of changes from last year to this year in staff reduction, but then we've also had some transfers. So we needed to update the signs and the maps so that it was something that I did that you don't normally think of as an administrator's job, but something that yet they do, but it's just kind of one of those things behind the scenes. I also attended an administration meeting, which was just held between the administrators in our district, which was very important and exciting, and their main topic of discussion was the fact that our technology lease is going to be up, and so we are trying to make a recommendation by December as to what platform, what devices we would like to go with. And so this conversation centered around what do the teachers want, what are they going to use, and those sorts. As well as the DLT, we also have the BLT, which is the Building Leadership Team. And during this meeting, they discussed about how we are going to implement that MTSS in our buildings since we've lost that was built into our schedule last year. Brainstormed some ideas, came up with a way to implement it during our homeroom time. I also attended a special education meeting that was held with just the special education teachers in our building, and just really heard a lot of jargon associated with special education and found out how many things special education teachers really do, and paperwork, and just the people that they have to answer to as far as in regards to writing those IEPs, and just a lot of rules and regulations regarding special education. With the technology recommendation, I got to attend a Microsoft presentation by a rep from Microsoft who came in, and he had certain devices we could play with, and just to he gave us an idea of some apps and things like that, and I just realized how big of a decision our district has to make, and our administration is leading the way with that. Along with this, the technology committee, which is made up of members from every school in our district, they get together and meet, and at this particular meeting they discussed the Microsoft presentation and how it went, and just a lot of good discussion, hearing the differences between what the elementary schools want versus the high school and the middle school. This was probably my most favorite experience while working on my practicum. Our principal had to be out of the school for the day, and so he asked me to kind of step in and fill in his shoes, and which was really exciting, and I fielded phone calls and answered questions of my teachers, and just had a great experience. I supervised the lunchroom and actually got to get a feel of what a principal does in a day. This refers to the math intervention time, the MTSS time. I went ahead and got these scheduled. We had already decided it was going to be during our homeroom time, but this was putting together binders for each kid, putting together logs, designing their log sheet, and so I put together all of this and just and kind of talked with the other people who would facilitate this. As well as the Microsoft presentation, I got to listen to the Apple presentation, and this was very much the same thing, but again, just made me realize how important and how exciting this decision can be. Every other Monday we have department meetings, and so this Monday I went around to other department meetings and just kind of listened to them about what they are thinking and what they're doing. And of course the main topic was the technology and what each department needs or wants from the new technology lease. I attended a board meeting, which was very interesting, and of course the topic was the technology, and one of the things that our technology director was pushing for was that we order iPads to give to the teachers, to have them in the hands of the teachers before we get them for the students, so that they can see, hey, is this something we really want? How are they going to be used? And so at this meeting, our technology director was really pushing for this, and our principal really stepped up and went to bat for the teachers, which was a great support. This was a meeting between the facilitators of the math intervention program, just to get all on the same page about what we expect, what kids are going to be coming, when they're going to be coming, what days, what teachers are going to do which, and just got the specifics laid out. I also attended the talking tour, which was where our central administration staff and school board members came and shared concerns with us, and I feel that it's just so important for that communication to be there. I attended a Wilson Elementary staff meeting where they had actually just gotten back from Goodland the day before and visited a school that had just purchased iPads about 2 years ago, and these teachers were really excited about sharing that, and the administration was really great at listening and learning from them. I also attended an IEP meeting as an administrator. Our administration was out of the office for the day, and so I got to sit in on this IEP meeting, and again, just how important those special education rules and regulations are. This is some of the supporting documentation. This is the tornado drill procedure that we implemented. These are the spreadsheets that I created for the registration at the Fort Hays in-service. These are the maps and the signage, part of them, that I created for the parent-teacher conferences. This is the math log for the accelerated math intervention, as well as this is another part that I put into their binders. My summary reflection is I wasn't quite sure of what to expect going into my practicum experience. I was looking forward to stepping into the role as administrator in certain circumstances. Of course, there are always situations that aren't necessarily looked upon as positive, but for the most part, I was really excited to get my feet wet. My actual experience this past semester with my practicum was overall very good. I wish I was able to coordinate more events within my district instead of just attending meetings most of the time. The events that I did help out with, though, I thoroughly enjoyed. I have realized what a barrier miscommunication, or the lack thereof, creates. I completely understand why the ISLLC standards were put into place. A large majority of them deal with communication and sharing a vision to stakeholders. Standards number 1 and 2 both reflect communicating with stakeholders in education. Standard 2 also discusses building a positive relationship with staff members and developing trust between them. Without going into every standard, it is easy to say that open communication lines are embedded into all of these standards. Currently, the school that I work with or in is dealing with a lack of communication. It's extremely hard to do your job as a teacher efficiently when the support or resources you need are not always there. This makes me really question how I can maintain these open lines of communication when I become an administrator. I want my staff to know that I am there for them, that I will listen to them, and consider their ideas. It is so frustrating when you try and communicate and receive nothing in return. I was aware going into my practicum how busy our administrators are. It seems like they are never in their offices. They're either supervising, attending meetings, or handling discipline issues. There are so many roles that an administrator plays. I just hope that I can be successful at organizing, planning, and communicating between all stakeholders in education. I also want to be a leader for our school and to provide a safe, efficient, and effective learning environment. As I make future decisions, I will keep this in mind to help guide my decision-making process. Here is my bibliography.